Veteran Salute is sponsored by the DeVaughn James Injury Lawyers.
A Vietnam veteran says he was involved in a brutal battle, one the public did not know about for decades.
As KSN's Gwen Bevel and photojournalist Nick Kiefer show us, it wasn't until a book was published in 2000 people really learned about what happened.
Dr. Ken Pitetti says that was a crazy time to be a soldier as they were fighting for their lives in Vietnam. Students were shot and killed while protesting the war at Kent State, and Cambodia was being invaded. He says casualties on the battlefields of Vietnam weren't dominating the headlines.
Life isn't fair or unfair. And life just bloody is what it is. And you got to go forward. You got to find ways to go forward.
Dr. Ken Pitetti says he lives that mantra.
We came home. We got jobs. We had families. We raised kids. We did good.
The former lieutenant says the U.S. military was fighting in the mountainous terrain under a triple canopy jungle.
So you had 4 divisions in this area.
He says this photo shows what it was like when the troops were inserted near the Laotian border.
If you want to know if you are a leader, lead men in combat.
Pitetti was a leader with the 101st and says troops were sent to fill the ranks of those who had fallen on the battlefield. He says this was his first meeting with his sergeant.
He says, you know, there's a beer over there. You want a beer? You better take a beer because that's probably going to be the last cold beer you're going to have in maybe months.
He says he couldn't help but notice all the chatter on the radio.
What's that radio? I said, who's that attached to? He says, Lieutenant, that's your company. And that's where you're going tomorrow. You sure you don't want that beer?
He remembers when the company was thrown into the defense of a fire base.
These guys were digging a night foxholes to take a position, a fighting position, to get ready for the night.
The battle raged for the next 4 months.
You all relied on one another. Everybody had one another's back.
That was certainly the case the day he earned a Purple Heart. He says after he stepped on a landmine, his sergeant, Chuck Riley, put him on his back and got him into the jungle for protection. Years later, and thanks to technology, the two found one another and enjoy getting together. He says he's still searching for the pilot and co-pilot who braved enemy fire.
I could see him up there and see, he was like, get up here.
Pitetti says this painting is of the same squadron that flew in for him. Once he was inside that chopper, he says he realized the man above him was missing an arm. The soldier lying next to him was dead.
There was so much blood on the bottom of that helicopter. I was just going back and forth, sliding back and forth, because they had picked up so many casualties that day. And we're going to take...
He says from the second he woke up following the amputation of his leg, he knew he could never truly repay those who saved his life.
So that's how I tried to live the rest of my life, is to make it worth that effort that they gave me, and to go on and do good things.
The good things include inspiring the future.
Again, you have classrooms here.
As a professor in the physical therapy department at WSU, he's now training those who will work with people who are moving through tough times in life, providing the encouragement he once received that the only option is to keep moving forward. Dr. Pitetti belongs to an organization that works tirelessly ensuring veterans get the care they need and their families are well taken care of. And his service to others stretches beyond that as well. He's been a volunteer for the ARC of Sedgwick County for more than 20 years. Here for you, Gwen Bevel, KSN News 3.
Tonight, we salute Ken Pitetti for his service in Vietnam.
On behalf of DeVaughn James Injury Lawyers, we're honored to be here with Ken Pitetti. Mr. Pitetti is a Vietnam veteran who served in the Army 101st Airborne, and when he was discharged, he received the Bronze Star, the Purple Heart, and a Combat Infantry Badge. Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you. And I would like to thank all the guys that I fought with in Vietnam, from Charlie Company, 2nd Battalion of the 506th Regiment.
Veteran Salute is sponsored by the DeVaughn James Injury Lawyers.